Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Derek.
Morning.
Hey, Natasha. How you doing?
Great. How are y'all doing this morning?
Excellent.
Great.
I'm mentally getting ready for the long weekend.
Yes, it
That's
is.
an awesome picture, Natasha.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the question is, what type of activities? We're just talking about the long weekend coming up, and with our schedule slightly abbreviated, what are we going to do differently this weekend? Derek, good morning. Can you hear us?
I can. Good morning. Can you hear me?
I can. You look good. Stone, welcome.
Hey, Steve. Hey, everybody.
Morning.
So, as for the weekend, it seems so different this year, of course. So, I'm like, plans, Memorial Day, awesome. I'll honor, what Memorial Day stands for, but it's like, what can we really do? So, how do you get creative? I just had a preschooler graduate, and it's like so different. Celebrations are just not the same. So, I don't have any plans.
No, it's different. So for 20 years we marched in the our town has a Memorial Day parade, and we would go down and we would plant flags in the Veterans Cemetery, and then we would march with the Veterans Day parade with the scouts. And so we've been doing it for 20 years because my kids have been in scouts. They're all gone now, and there aren't going to be any festivities this year, so that's kind of interesting. But staying around and working around the yard is okay, but it's weird, you can't really visit. I see my neighbors across the street, but it's hard to, I don't know, mentally, this is a unique transition this year for everybody.
Yeah.
Hey, Catherine.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
How's it going?
Just commenting, Catherine, we were marching in the Memorial Day parade with Ed Kirk 20 years ago, right? So my son is going to be 27 in a few weeks, and 20 years ago we joined Scouting. This was the first year we were in Scouting, so it was interesting. And those kids grew up marching. That was like a big thing. So, yep, it's nice to sit and watch it, but yeah, no parade this year, unfortunately. What about you, Derek? Any plans this weekend?
Well, I do have some plans. My cousin needs some work done in his backyard, so I volunteered to help him. My other cousin is moving, so he told me to help her. So we are all going to get together as a family and help her move. And then on Monday, we do our traditional CrossFit Murph. It's the dedication to Michael Murphy, the fallen Medal of Honor recipient. If you've all seen the the movie, what is it, The Last Survivor or something like that? I can't remember the name
Survivor?
of it. So
Is it the Lone Survivor?
Survivor, yes. So Lone Survivor. So we do a dedication to Michael Murphy and do his exercise. And if you are interested in doing it yourself, look it up online. It's very popular. It is probably one of the toughest workouts I have ever done. And if he did it every day, this man is superhuman, or was superhuman when he was alive. But it is our dedication to the veterans, or Memorial Day. So that's what we do.
That's very nice, but I think I'm going to pass.
You can watch. It's nice to watch.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. There's a lot of interesting things going on. So, yeah, that's good. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, this is the unofficial kickoff of summer. We're still debating or trying to figure out what summer is going to bring each of us. So I thought would take a few minutes and kind of see what everyone is doing business-wise, or at least planning on heading into, because Connecticut finally opened slowly but surely. Some things are open. You still can't get a haircut, so not a big priority on my list. But my wife is ready to pull her hair out, no pun intended. But yeah, so I think it's going to be interesting. Did everyone see the article from CDC yesterday about the COVID-19 doesn't last long on surfaces? They officially brought that out. So I wonder if that's going to impact some of the openings and changes going forward. Anyone have any thoughts, or anyone see anything to the contrary?
I didn't see anything to the contrary, but when I read that, I was kind of upset because you've seen all these videos of them making fun of, first you wipe off your keys and then you put your key in the ignition and then you have to wipe off your ship stick and then you have to wipe off your steering wheel and then you have to wipe off. And everybody, they've created such a panic and made grocery shopping so incredibly stressful and difficult for no reason. I mean, yes, you don't know what you don't know, and it is safer to err on the side of caution. But with that information, I feel like they have had this country running around like chickens screaming the sky is falling. And I was very upset when I read that you don't need to wipe your groceries down anymore.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I found it interesting also. A business that I discovered because of coronavirus is the UVC light. UVC is notorious for killing surface or disinfecting rooms with the ultraviolet light. And all of a sudden, this became such a popular item. Who could get to this product fast enough? Now, there's a number of items on the market that have already built up a reputation, but hospitals are on the fence a couple ways to look at this product. Number one, they're furiously looking for PPE product. They're not looking at anything that is equipment related. And so getting this product presented to them has been much of a challenge for me. I've done it as more of a consulting role or more of as a 1099 to see if I can even market it. But now you say, well, it doesn't last long on a surface. So they're looking at other things really. E. coli, Ebola, they're looking at C. diff, things like that are just much more contagious, I think, or much more dangerous. And COVID has almost appeared to be almost minuscule to some of these other products other problems we already know about and have already been able to work with in existence. So I'm like you. I'm almost skeptical of some of the news we're getting anymore and why the drastic panic over something maybe that wasn't so bad. I don't know. I'm not here to say that it was or was not or is not. I'm just kind of questioning all of the information that we're starting to receive.
Yes. I've had trust issues for the last couple of years. We've been talking about a lot of things, about medications, about eating fat, eating sugar, doing this, doing that. And a lot of these things that we were raised on, these so-called truths, you kind of take these blinders off. And again, it's okay to have a reasonable doubt, to ask questions. And I think, and we all know this, right? The truth is somewhere in the middle. It's always a combination of things. And when we definitively make decisions to impact people, I just saw an article about people who, unfortunately, if you read it, 80% of the people who are getting sick from COVID-19 were over 65, right? 80% of the mortality. And that would have been helpful to know. I mean, all those people that they had put in the nursing homes and then they sent COVID-19 patients, what were people thinking? I don't know.
Bless you.
So I don't know. It's very interesting. And believe me, I'm all about being cautious and taking precautions, but how do you balance that? And it is hard to do that. So Stone, I know, just out of curiosity, have things opened up for you anymore at home, or is your community wide open at this point?
Yeah,
In
we're open
Dallas,
for. Oh,
you're talking to me,
No, I was
Steve?
talking to Stone because his
Okay.
Atlanta was already open, right?
I'm in Columbia, South Carolina.
Oh, so right, but you guys were opening up soon, right?
Yeah, it's pretty open. They opened up gyms, and I got a haircut, so they opened that up. And I've been able to go and have some meetings with some physicians, including in the hospital. I had a mask on. If not, they would have given me one. Taking the temperature when I walk in, having some brief conversations. I've had a lunch I work in pain management, so I've had a lunch in their clinic because that's probably home. But I'm working on scheduling one in the hospital too, so it's picking pretty back up, getting more normal here in South Carolina. We had maybe 400, 500 beds being used out of our 10,000. So the number is, much lower than other places.
Yeah. So where didn't I read somewhere that there were some physicians who were writing letters about we need to start treating people
I
and
know there
getting
were
them
people,
back?
are you talking about in South Carolina?
Well, in general, I just read across the country, half these hospitals, they're not treating patients. So it's very, very frustrating.
Yeah,
So
a friend of mine, she's in a heart center, and she was saying how our local hospital here just lost, 60 million in like a week or something, maybe a week or two without doing any surgeries. So they're like, yeah, we gotta get back. And then people needed surgeries too. So
yeah, a good friend of mine was diagnosed with prostate cancer back in the beginning of the year, and he was supposed to go in for treatment surgery the middle of March, right? And right after they closed the hospital, so he's still waiting to have his surgery. Luckily, it doesn't move as quickly as some other things, but it's frustrating for a lot of people. So, hey, Melissa. So, Derek, you were saying things are opening up for you, though, right? Or they already
Yeah,
have been open.
same here. Dallas or Texas has pretty much opened up. Barbers and some restaurants opened up last Monday, a week ago Monday. So that was at 25% for the restaurants. Barbers were open. Gyms opened on Monday of this week. So we're slowly getting back to normal. I know some of my friends are going back to their offices, kind of as a selective approach. Not really everyone mass quantities going back to work, but I know offices are starting to open up, and I'm starting to see more storefronts open and available to walk in and get a coffee, so to speak, or sit at a restaurant. They're not locked down like they were. You're starting to see movement on the streets, and it's becoming more and more active. So yeah, it is starting to open up.
Yeah, that's good. Melissa, what are you seeing in your neck of the woods? Is anything different over the last couple weeks?
It's the pollution's rising. So cars are going back to work. So the brown cloud is coming back over Denver slowly,
Really?
which is not good. But yeah, we don't, our bar, hair salons did open. I don't know at what percentage, but sorry, hold on. So yeah, the restaurants have not opened yet, and nor retail.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting.
How about you?
Well, we were just talking Connecticut slowly phase one, they started opening up a few more non-essential items. The hairdressing shops were supposed to open. They delayed that for a few weeks, and people were really frustrated. The hair and nail salons, and yet some of the places. So this kind of goes back to Stone was saying he was able to go and meet physicians and going to the hospital. We're, I think, a few weeks away from opening up the gyms and a few of the other things. Interesting. Memorial Day weekend's coming. There's people who want to go to the beach, who want to go camping, but they close the state parks in Connecticut. So
Yeah,
yet,
the parks are open here.
yeah,
And I gotta actually get on a call at 8:30. So I have a big interview today at 3 o'clock for oncology pharma sales.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Awesome.
Good
All right, well,
luck.
yeah, Melissa, good luck. And you know what? I was gonna say, send me an email and I'll share it with everyone. Let us know how you did, or you may not know, right, for a while.
Right. Well, thank goodness it's a phone one. So I don't, and I did hear back. I got a rejection email from Pfizer for the vaccine one. Well, that was my first video one that I wasn't sure about. So I got that yesterday. I wasn't that surprised. And again, I was kind of thankful to get some information is better than no information, even if it's a rejection. So
Yeah,
that's
no,
an
that's
update
true.
there.
The places that keep you hanging on for weeks on end are excruciating. So,
Mhm.
yeah. So, Natasha, what's going on in your neck of the woods? Anything exciting?
Excitement, not, I guess it's a little action, I'll say. So a lot of things, of course, in Atlanta are open. It is really interesting because I'm like, I feel like it's worse. It's just so crowded everywhere. So it's like, it makes me not want to go anywhere because I'm like, I can't get in and out of the store without a bunch of people. So that's not so exciting. But I have been getting a lot of callbacks, a lot of interviews. So I know tomorrow well, at the end of the month, actually, I have a interview with ChenMed, and it's more so selling services versus products, but I'm definitely open to like hearing what their benefits are and making sure that I interview as much as possible so I can have that experience.
What's the name of the company, Natasha? I didn't hear you.
Yeah, so it's Chen, CHEN, Med. Yeah, so it's a
Med?
hospital. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
ChenMed. It's a hospital located in Miami, and they're expanding their reach in different places, but they specifically have primary care for seniors. But they want you to kind of, just go out into different events and make sure to spread the word about the different services. So it seems like base pay is really decent, and then the commission and things like that. So I'm just trying to really, learn the right questions to ask during the interview so I can make sure that I'm completely equipped and know what to expect. So that's one. I also had another interview with a opioid company. They're actually trying to minimize opioid addiction. So they're using other methods to handle pain management. And specifically, it's like different electrode machines and stuff. So I'm looking
What's the name of
forward.
that company?
Yeah, so this company name is Match One Medical.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
And
you're in Atlanta?
I'm
Wait.
sorry?
You're in Atlanta?
It is
What is it called?
Match One Medical. So I always do my research, try to see how many people they have a part of the company, and it's like 500 or less. So it's not a huge company, but they really have great ratings when it comes down to what I researched thus far. And it seemed like and they said that Atlanta only has one rep. So it is really an untapped market. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. They asked me for references, so I'm not sure what, my next steps would be. I think I'll talk to like the district manager next. So yeah, I feel like I'm really making a lot of strides. I've been doing a lot of networking. I had a guy from Rep Light. They actually help reps like have more efficient selling. But Rep Life, he's the CEO and the founder, and he reached out to me and I was like, what? So that was exciting because he was at Intuitive, Stryker, a lot of the big medical device companies. So I am like really maximizing all my connections as much as possible. So yeah, those are my updates. And I'll definitely keep everyone updated more. Oh yeah, also I'm selling PPE, protective gear. A company that was a textile company, they decided to go into the medical realm, and they opened a company called Medtra, and specifically to sell PPE protective gear to hospitals and stuff, which that's a little challenging because ideally it'll be great to go with another contract. So Derek, if you want, I can send that information too, because if you have like hospitals and you're already in the hospitals and selling things, also anyone else in the hospital, it could be an opportunity to kind of pair in, and it's commission based, 5% off of whatever you sell. And it's like bulk.
Can you send it to Steve so he could put it on?
Yeah, I'll send it.
Or put it in the chat maybe?
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you can put it in the chat, that would be great.
Okay, yeah, sure. I'll have to look it up to know like the link and stuff, but it was posted on LinkedIn, and I'll put it in there.
Okay, great. Well, thank you.
Uh-huh.
So, good morning, Alan. Can you hear us?
I can.
How you doing?
Doing good. Yeah, I'm having a coffee this morning with one of my lead physicians that I've been knowing for a long time. And he's the one who everybody approaches for new devices, new supplies. Gets his their feedback, and he gives it to me as what he thinks is worth pursuing. So I've got a coffee this morning with him. One thing I want to warn people about, and it's just my experience, unfortunately, is my excitement was there as well when it came to some of these smaller companies. And that is why my resume is peppered the way it is for the last 5 years. It doesn't look good now if you look back at it from a recruiter's point of view. Why do you have 5 jobs or 4 jobs in so many years? And the answer was I was going with these companies that were new, very small, very energetic, but just either were going to be sold shortly after building up their chain. Everyone's got to make a decision based on themselves. And I hear the excitement, and with smaller companies, my excitement was there too until they were sold and it went belly up, chapter 7. So just kind of an FYI, just be alert. Even when you do your homework, it's not your fault. Their job was to make money. Their job was to hire up and be sold for the products that they had, and not keep their employees or their rep staff. So just keep it in the back of your mind, if nothing else.
Yeah, it's a good point, Alan. Thank you. It is funny. Hindsight is 2020, but you know what? It's one of these things. How would you know? I mean, you made the best decision with the information you had at the time. Is there any? I don't know. How would you know? What would you do differently?
Well, right now with Athertech, they made a major business model change, the billing model change, because one of a new CEO, that was my first clue. They got rid of the old CEO, brought a new one. He made a business change that was very difficult to sell to our current accounts. We went from all the tests you could do for $40 to individual testing. I started throwing my resume out at that point, and they were belly up 7 months later. Another company, the opioids, were having a very difficult time, and the FDA was giving our company a difficult time for 6 months before a new opioid came out. The new opioid was covered, was approved by the FDA, but the manufacturing was, the FDA was giving the manufacturing a difficult time. I started looking at that point. So I guess it's just, I don't know if it's the product itself, doing your homework prior, but the opioids were having a troublesome time for about a year before all this came down. So just be alert, just be aware, just use your common sense, and don't be afraid to say, you know what, it's time to start looking again. Right now, I approached a gentleman at one of our little small town Saturday markets who sells a pasta line and looking at a sauce line, and he was looking for an investor. So I'm looking at possibly becoming a part investor with this guy, and putting together a sauce pasta kind of basket and presenting that to several of my old colleagues, my old accounts for the upcoming season, just to simply say I'm still around, and maybe just keeping it in with them, if nothing else. Just kind of a warm-hearted, I'm still here, keep my name alive, but just a different way of doing it.
Excellent. Excellent. Words of wisdom and experience.
I don't know about wisdom, but let's just go with just following my heart.
Okay. Hey, that's okay. So, other things, Catherine, what's going on? I know it's been a busy week in your world, or at least the last couple of weeks.
Yep, I am. Well, for one, it's opened up and that everybody can go get their hair done tomorrow. Baltimore County finally decided to go with the governor's edict. We've been more still in lockdown than prior, but they went out and said everything's fine. Go, whatever's phase 1 is we're in that. So, and people are out there like they used to be on the road around 4:30. The other day, I was sitting and I heard like a couple sirens. That's not unusual. Then I heard like a lot more sirens, and then it just kept on. And I'm like, is there a parade? And then I decided, I looked it up, and that when I heard the helicopter, I looked it up on the because I'm not too far from the interstate, and there was a major accident. One car rear-ended a tractor trailer, and another car rear-ended that car. And it was not, I mean, it took a long time to extract everybody. So yeah, no, they're back to being crazy on the road. I really liked driving, even though I didn't drive much. I liked driving during house arrest because you could just go. And nobody was out there, but now you're back to having to deal with all the crazies out there. So
Yep.
All I can say is be safe.
Right.
But no, this summer I know I'm working to get ready for that Florida conference, because I just heard the governor of Florida this morning, and I can tell you, I don't think there's going to be a problem with that conference going. He was upset. He was upset because of the way everybody has talked about how they were going to be underwater and everything else and all, and they're doing great.
So could you just remind, for people who don't remember, how long ago did Michigan get canceled? Was it just last week or a week ago?
About a week ago.
Yeah. So Catherine, there was a conference in Michigan in July that the organizers pulled the plug, and it's kind of crazy. Michigan is enforcing and adding all these restrictions, and yet other parts of the country are opening. So all these organizations that have their annual conferences and meetings, it's hard. So hopefully, again, Florida in August, probably not a big draw, but we'll see.
And then Texas in October, I have no problems thinking that one's going to go.
Excellent. I hope so. I hope so for all our sakes. Because if they start, on one hand, when I see other states opening up, that means that the resistance is coming in, and you can point to these places. Florida's a good example, Texas, Georgia, all these places that opened up and said, we never really saw the increase in infection rates, or at least mortality. People may get the virus, but it's not going to, well, knock on wood, impact people. All right. So other than that, anyone else want to share any updates? Yeah, go ahead, Stone.
People were talking about interviews. I actually had a second one yesterday, and it's a different industry. It's a sales role, but we'll see what happens. I have a final one in the next couple of weeks. It was via Zoom this time. They're going to be in town. Then they're based out of Alabama. I'm always excited, but then nervous about interviews. And if I could just get, a couple minutes of some advice, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. Throw it out.
So basically, people mention smaller companies. This one's been around since 2008. They sell interior designs to schools and to offices and to healthcare. I'll be working in K through 12. and, selling that device, traveling around the state, doing some overnights. Also up in North Carolina. So I'm in South Carolina, like I said earlier, being in North Carolina and South Carolina and kind of running that territory. Similar to what I did here, opening it up. I'm just trying to be impressive in my interview. Also find out more about them. It seems like the role is pretty great. It seems like I think I'll be a really good fit for it. So.
All right. And Stone, I'm just going to throw this out. Why do you think you'll be a good fit?
Because of what they're about, because of the culture, the hunger of the culture, the dedication to service, and then just the fact that I have a background in education. I was a teacher before. I worked at another nonprofit that basically I was a teaching assistant for a year. I worked through 3rd through 12th grade in the public school system. Also some experience in the private school system. And finally, who I am as a person, what I've done in my career, and then the fact that it's my hometown. The first principal I'll be meeting with is actually my cousin, and the second one is her husband, and the third one is my 5th grade teacher, and then the fourth one is a colleague that I had 2 years ago. So just some of that, I would say.
So Stone, you didn't tell us you were a ringer, that you had all these connections. That So the question is, what type of advice do you need? It sounds like you have a lot of good things going there.
Yeah, it does. I'm writing down what I just said. I think what is it called? External processor. When you're talking about something, it comes out a little more naturally than when I'm just trying to think about it.
Yep.
Here's a question. I try to be really impressive, right? Sometimes a little overboard. But I'm considering actually reaching out to these people I just mentioned and then some more, and trying to go in there with some appointments set up. Like, hey, if I work with this company, are you willing to meet with me? And then go in saying, hey, I already got these administrators who want to have a conversation. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't know if I would schedule appointments, but I would certainly reach out to your contacts and ask them, what would it take? And from your perspective, how often do you update, what type of information is important to you when you're looking to choose a vendor to work with? I would ask them questions about the industry and about the types of companies they work with, and just let them know that you're exploring this opportunity. I don't know if putting them on the spot would be, something you'd want to do, but here's the thing. If you have a conversation and they say, boy, it sounds like you're interviewing with a good company, would love to talk to you after you get the position. If you take it, great. Then you could almost have that in your back pocket. But this is, to me, almost industry research, having those conversations. What do you guys think?
From my experience, this is Alan. So my history is trying too hard initially. And I think that just go in, present yourself, what you've done for other companies to bring in revenue, and then ask, what is it that they can do for you? What is it they're going to bring into you? But the bottom line is it's who you know. Obviously, that's in bloodline already, so I think that that's a key factor. But I have stopped doing so much homework, and I have stopped trying so hard to impress people because I know I'm up against others, so I just go in with who I am, a brief brag book just in case the opportunity presents. But I don't think I would go to, I think that they need to sell why they're good for you versus the opposite. That's just my personal experience. Doesn't always work, but that's my experience.
I think, Stone, what I would suggest or maybe recommend is, you sound like you have a lot of internal connections, which sometimes can present, in my experience, it's almost, when I feel too confident, that's a cautionary alarm that should go off. It doesn't always do that with me. Maybe over prepare and make sure you have a lot of your background or your value that you can bring to that position prepared. Because again, I think Steve hit on the fact that networking is really key. If they like you and you're going to fit in well, and they already know who you are as a person that's a shoo-in. But overconfidence sometimes will trip you up in the interview. So I only give you that as maybe a cautionary point to over prepare and maybe know your value, where you can fit in immediately at a quicker rate, less training. That all getting up to speed faster is some things that maybe you want to think about, and maybe prepare a business plan already for them in terms of being able to present that. I have like a business plan that I can share with someone if they ask. I like presenting that sometimes so they know that my 60, 90-day plan is prepared and ready to go. So they know this is really my goals and how I want to start in the role. So those are really just maybe some things to think about. Sometimes I really get overconfident and go, yeah, I got this. People know me, they're going to hire me without even looking at my resume. And that's not true.
When you say
Derek,
over prepare, can you break that down?
Yes, over prepare. You know your background, know what you can bring to the position and value. Have a 60 or a 30, 60, 90-day plan prepared so that you can speak to that as how you would get started, and then what value you bring to that position. You can get started in this position much easier than, say, someone who doesn't know the industry, doesn't know school backgrounds, doesn't know how to start off. You probably already have maybe 50% of it figured out without, learning the product. So those are just some things that I would say.
Great. Very great, Derek. Because I was going to say the same thing. I been working on like the 30, 60, 90-day plan. Sometimes even going to 120. Another thing is like having that brag book, of course. Since you already kind of talked about those brag points, like just having them within, like Derek said, like your business plan. So having all of that stuff kind of collected into some type of portfolio really just shows that you are like ready and you know exactly, your worth, your value, as Steve was saying. All of that will be reflected in your brag book.
Nice.
Yep, being organized and prepared are two of the key things. And your 30, 60, 90-day plan, if you decide to write that out, my only advice would be to do more broad strokes and not get too specific, because it can work against you. If you have a 30, 60, 90-day plan that's very unique to you, they may feel that you're not flexible or open to learning the way that they do things. So you definitely want to have like key bullet points of things that need to be accomplished, but not such hardcore procedural things that you have to get done to make those things happen. You just want to make sure that you express to them that you understand their business, their challenges, and their customers. It's not about showing your way of doing things. It's about you understanding the way they do things on their side and how you can fit in to them. Because if you go in there like a bull in a china shop and your plan is actually to change everything differently from the way they do it, they're going to lose interest. So you're again, and Steve says this all the time about interviewing and closing. Your resume doesn't get you the job, it just gets you the interview. The interview just gets you another interview. And then when you get to those higher level interviews, like your second interview, that's when you can really sell yourself on the actual position, because now you're getting there.
Thank you, Barry. I'm all done. Thanks.
There were a couple things. I know there's an acronym around this. It's, and you guys probably are more familiar with it. I've heard it presented, and I can't, for the life of me, can't think of the acronym. It's the problem, then the action, and then the result. Presenting those three. What is that?
Situation, task, action, result. Correct.
So you think of it in that broad, when Barry said broad stroke, that's probably what, I would think about is if they're going to, well, how would you deal with this type of problem? And you can maybe bring examples or have examples ready to go, and not bring them, have examples ready to go where you were presented a problem, the result the results you took, and then are the actions you took, and then the results you got. Those are some things to think about in your, because you're going to get presented those questions, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
And that's called the STAR method interviewing as well.
Yeah, there
So
it is.
STAR. Google STAR method. Yeah.
STAR or SOAR: situation, objective,
Yes.
action, and results. So you can use objective or obstacle, right, depending on that. But at the end of the day, Stone, and this is true for all of us, when you're out there talking about what your solution is and how you can solve it, the whole purpose of showing your 30, 60, 90-day plan is that your process for problem solving and moving forward can be brought from one industry to another, right? It's reproducible. So they want to know that you have a plan, a process, a recipe for success. And once they train you with proprietary information and you integrate your reproducible, consistent plan, that's when everything connects and they're like, he gets it. So that's the whole purpose of having this interview. You're going to have all this sales literature available, right? Your brag book, your 30, 60, 90-day or short-term, intermediate, long-term plan, depending. But the idea is whatever made you successful in the past, that you can bring that to bear going forward. And at the end of the day, and Alan's shaking his head, we can't see him, but he's sitting there thinking that's what we do. And regardless of your product and your service, and that's all people want to know, that you understand the game they're playing and you can jump in without missing a beat and be substituted and fit right in. If you're an outside, peg and you can't fit into that hole, it's going to be hard for them to say, you got a lot of skills, but it's not a good fit for us. So the big thing here, and all of you know this, really listen to what they're trying to say they're looking for, because that's the tough part. They may use a different word or a different phrasing, but you have to be able to listen and interpret what they do. And Stone, if you came from an education background, this was easy for you in a sense, right? Because you focused right in on what people were looking for. Alan, any thoughts?
Yeah, one other thought just came to mind as you were speaking there. It's on here. One of the key factors that I find was an error on my part was trying so hard to sell myself, but when it came down to it, I asked them briefly in the interview, because I was always taught, wait for them to bring up salary, wait for them to bring it up, just don't bring it up. In first interview, don't bring it up. Second interview, don't bring it up. In the last 2 or 3 interviews that I've had, I've said to them, I don't want to be out of line, because I feel good about this. What is your salary offering? How is your commission structure? And to my surprise, and maybe I shouldn't have been surprised, the last one said 42, but we make great commissions. And of course, my response was politically correct and said, well, you can't offer a commission until you get the business. Would I make as much as I did in my last position? I shared that. They go, oh, well, that would be your second or third year. The same thing, the prior one, we're offering 55 salary. That may be more for DME as well. So I just feel that I don't know if they read my face or what it was. That's not quite what I was making beforehand. So I think you have to have that discussion a little bit further. A little bit before the third or fourth interview. I think you need to be confident to bring that up if you're feeling good about the position and what it is that it's offering. That's just my experience. Other people may think differently.
No, I would agree. This goes back to doing your homework and making sure the opportunity is a good fit. Because even if they're offering you great money, if it's not a good fit, it's going to be hard for you to say, this is going to be successful. And what happens is there are organizations, again, everyone uses different terminology, and even within subspecialties, right? If I'm doing orthopedics and someone's talking about ENT or spine or some other specialty, even though it's similar, it might be slightly different. And I think part of this is measure twice, cut once type approach. Make sure you fully understand what they're looking for. And then, of course, you want to get compensated based on what you're going to bring to the table. If you know you can hit a home run and you're going to be a superstar in this job, of course you want to know what they're asking. Because sometimes people don't understand your value if you're not showing or telling them. We assume they're going to look at the resume and connect the dots. But again, Stone, if this is something you feel confident and it sounds like on many levels this is a good fit for you, having confidence is one thing, but I think, and Alan's kind of alluding to this, you want to demonstrate your salesmanship through this whole process. This is the great thing about interviewing for sales jobs. You get to demonstrate your salesmanship during the interview process. Most other opportunities, when I talk to other people who are non-sales people, they don't appreciate that because they focus on their skill and their background and their experience. There are very few jobs where you can demonstrate your professionalism and skill right in the interview process. Unless maybe it's hairdressing and you come in and they say, all right, show us what you can do. But I mean, that's the beauty of some of these opportunities.
Oh, great. Thank y'all so much. Real quick, 30, 60, 90 day. I kind of just said, learn the product, reach out to my connections here in Columbia, expand. So,
well, that's like 150,000 foot view, right? But here's the part. Again, think of it as a recipe for success. When you say, hey, I'm planning for dinner for 4th of July, I'm having a barbecue, I'm having people over. I can say, hey, I'm having people over, we're having a barbecue, but that's a month out. But what are the things you need to do a month out, 2 weeks out, a week out? Right? So I'm not saying you have to throw it in their face and say, look what I can do. But in your mind, if they want to boil it down, if they want to ask you, again, what's your process for consistent growth and reproduction of this template? And that's what you're doing. Every 30 days, I do this. Every 60 days, I do this. Every 90 days, I do this. And I repeat, and that helps me hit my year-end goals.
Oh, you repeat it. I didn't know that. I just thought it was just, in 90 days, I'll be here, and then something's magical going to happen.
Well, let's put it this way. It's like going to the gym, right? You can't keep adding sets and weights, right? So what you're going to do is you constantly build it up to get toward your goal. So what happens is if you say every 30 days I review my targets to adjust, and then there are some goals and accounts that you have to plant seeds 60 days out, right, to get in front of the people. Depending on the product, how long is the sales process? How many people do you have to see? How many decision makers? Do you have to go to the hospital and get buy-in, operating room, whatever? So what happens is if you have a 60-day sales process, when do you start prospecting? When do you start doing your demonstrations? When do you close? Are there trials involved? Is there billing issues? So if it's a 90-day process, you're going to have to repeat that cycle throughout the year to hit your yearly goals.
All right, perfect.
Unless I'm missing something. Derek? Thoughts?
No. So to your point, Stone, your first 30 days on the job, you're probably going to get acclimated to a lot of the new products. You're going to get, you're going to get onboarded for the first 15 days, I'm sure, or 10. You're going to start meeting new people internally, and you're going to start understanding where your territory is and start marketing your territory. Probably wouldn't repeat that again after your 90 days are over. So what you do in your first 60 and 90 days, you're probably going to repeat that quite a bit. You're going to start riding you're going to start riding your territory. You're going to start looking for prospects. You're going to start building up your funnel. Those are things how you're going to continue to do that 60 and 90 days as a repetitive, just a repetitive action that you do on a regular basis to make your year-end goal. Those are your plans. I'm just throwing that out there as things that you would do to just keep going. And then always, every so often, as Steve pointed out, do a check. Did I hit my goal? What do I adjust? And then you just keep doing that. And it's repetitive. Go back to your 90-day and say, did I hit my goal? Where do I adjust? Set your next, because in sales, you're doing a lot of prospecting, you're doing a lot of forecasting, and they want to know what your business is going to look like in 60 and 90 days. And then they want to know what your goal is at the end of the year. You're going to have to do that anyway. So that's just a good start to know that you're already on plan. But I'm going to tell you something, Stone, and I tell this to the group. I have an interview on Monday, and it is a second interview. The interview has been presented to me as scenario based. So they'll present me with a lot of different scenarios and how what experience I've had in working in these types of scenarios, or what I would do to work with these scenarios, what I would do as problem solving. And so this conversation is really good for me, actually. It's a few reminders that I've got to go look at myself and say, okay, what do I have down as my plan? One of the things that I do have as an advantage is they're hiring for the West and the East. A very good friend of mine was interviewing for the East and has already gone through the interview process, but didn't get it. I've already reached out to him to get some insight as to how this is going to go. So I do know, like you said, if you feel overconfident, it scares me, because I don't want to feel that way. I want to feel like I've done my homework and maybe overachieved in that area, so I feel more prepared. But we've given you a lot of information, and I see you writing down, pretty frivolously. I'm hoping that we're not going too fast for you. That would be my concern, because like I said, the conversation is really good. It's given me a lot of information, and I'm writing down as well, going, oh my gosh, the star, I forgot that. Now I'm going to tweak this to sell myself, and just reminders. It's all good. So thank you for that, Stone. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, this was incredibly helpful. Thank y'all. I like objective too. I probably use objective. That sounds like a sales word.
Well, it is. So Derek, I just want to confirm. You said Monday, Memorial Day, you have an interview?
Oh, whoa.
I do, at 10:30. I hope they catch that, because it was supposed to be today at noon, and everyone got busy. So they basically moved it out to Monday. I took the meeting. So to your point, Steve, I may get another confirmation here once they start putting schedules together and realize Monday's a holiday. But at this point, it's Monday at 10:30, and I haven't taken it off of the calendar yet. So we'll see.
Okay, good. Well, hey, you know what? It's always good. If they're willing to talk, that's great. And at the same time, they may not catch it until, Friday at 5. So.
Monday at 10:25.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and you know what? It's, again, not malicious. This whole thing, we've talked about, these days and weeks have morphed into one continuous thing.
Correct.
So, I've been joking about powering down, shut my computer off over the weekend and try not to touch it if I can, but
Never happes.
That's
Never.
it never does.
It never happens.
Gary, what company are you interviewing with?
You're asking me?
Yes, Derek.
The company is Medela. They manufacture breast pumps. And what I like about this position is it's not necessarily healthcare in that it calls on distributors of this product. So the way the program works for breast pumps is that your insurance company or your insurance plan provides ladies, new mothers, a free breast pump.
Mhm.
And so you would call your insurance provider, and then they refer you to a distributor, which they're connected to. My role would be to build those relationships with those distributors and have that product readily available. And so the trick is with this product is meeting the reimbursement code. So reimbursements with each health plan now is being adjusted to the market, not necessarily what CMS is putting out there, but what Blue Cross Blue Shield wants to charge or what Cigna wants to charge. And so there's sometimes a loss and sometimes there's a profit in that. And you have to be ready to adjust to that. So that's how I've understood the market. The good news is the restrictions on distributors is not nearly as high as it is for hospitals or calling on doctors. And so I'm excited about that, knowing that I may be able to do other things like go to dinner and do more entertainment with these to build that relationship rather than the restrictions that I'm put on with the healthcare and the doctors where they can't go to dinner, they can't get out of the hospital, they're not able to do things kind of extracurricular, or I don't know, we just seem more handcuffed in the healthcare industry anymore. So I'm excited to see kind of a different aspect of this market.
That sounds great, Derek. Good luck.
I know it's going to be
great. Sounds like you're really passionate about it.
Well, I am in a sense that I just, I've wanted to get out of healthcare, but I feel like I'm pigeonholed to a certain extent because of just, that's all I've done for 30 years. And I've looked at oil and gas, I've looked at other manufacturing, other, construction or whatever. And I'm thinking, I don't know anything else. This is it. This is really all I know. If I'm going to be a consultant, I couldn't tell you how to be an electrician. I've got to tell you how to do healthcare. So that's really kind of the niche. That's why I said it's not really getting out of healthcare, but it is seeing a different aspect of it.
It's coming at it from a different angle where the majority of your skills will be transferable because it's still technically a medical device, but it's one for at-home use, and you're not cuffed by the restrictions on promotional activity. You can use all of those relationship building skills and taking the distributors out to dinner or bringing them whatever. I think for you that's actually like the perfect solution. Well, there's no such thing as perfect. That's a good solution to your particular situation because it's really not that far removed, but it is different. So yes. I wish you much luck, and I'm sure you're going to kill it.
Thank you so much. It is stressful in its sense, but Stone, you've actually helped me to think about some other things that I didn't remember to start writing down and practice myself over the weekend and before the interview. So thank you.
Yep. Yeah, you guys should probably talk and practice,
Absolutely.
Role play.
Okay.
Well, it is an interesting thing too, Derek, to think about taking your skills and transferring them and feeling like you're pigeonholed. It's only because you have a lot of knowledge in a specific industry, but is it because it's healthcare or medical device, or is it because of your sales style and approach that you feel pigeonholed?
Just the medical device. What I thought was an advantage, I think still is an advantage. I have a background on both sides of the negotiating table. So I've worked for GPOs, group purchasing organizations, which probably some of you are maybe familiar with, negotiating contracts for large hospital groups. But on the other side, use that knowledge and have been able to apply that to a corporate account executive role or a national accounts role negotiating for the manufacturer. So I know the tricks of either side, right? I know what we're going for in terms of those contract negotiations, what position we need to work for. But the part that I really, really liked was on the corporate account side, I could build those relationships, customer face, and really, really provide a service or a solution where I couldn't do that on the GPO side. Where I feel like I'm pigeonholed is that there is a lot of competition on the corporate account side. There's a progress. It just seems like I don't know, just getting into this, back into it. I've been out of corporate accounts for 3 years. I've been negotiating contracts again on the GPO side. So I'm not sure if that's a positive for me. In this particular situation, as Barry pointed out, it is. It's providing some outside insight, what I call outside insight, that basically is bringing a new mindset to their team. So a lot of their reps are internally trained, and they bring more of a company perspective to every role that they're in. They want some outside influence. They want them to have some outside ideas. And so that's really why I'm interviewing. That's what they basically presented as my positive plus. They really want to see this. There's a couple people already internally that they're looking at, but they've moved away from that only because they do want to see if they can get some outside influence and change up this team a little bit so they do have more of a diverse team. I'm hoping that's the idea. But again, trying to go out into oil and gas, that's kind of a concept here in Texas that's been presented to me. Some other construction ideas, maybe in the electrical business or the plumbing, which I feel comfortable with. I couldn't really tell you. I'm not licensed in any of those other areas, and I haven't spent a whole lot of time in it. So that's why I say I feel like I'm pigeonholed to healthcare, because I've done it my entire life, or my entire career.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. And again, there's a number of people, you go through this and you say, again, you think about actors, right, who had a role and they felt like that's who they were because that's what people knew them as. But going forward, you have the ability, and we're all doing this, right? We reinvent ourselves, our profile on LinkedIn, our image, right? How people know us. We meet people new, right? I don't know you from a hole in the wall, right? Relatively new. I'm looking at you today, not where you were in the past. And yet sometimes we look in the mirror and we see our warts and all, right? We look and we're like, oh, people are going to look and only see me one way. It's an assumption, and sometimes it's true, but sometimes it's how you present yourself, right? You're a sales expert or a sales professional who happens to have experience across multiple industries or multiple specialties or with a unique background. So I think sometimes it's the way we position ourselves in our mind that sets us up going forward. And again, it's easy to say that, but again, without knowing all the details in your background and your position, this is a tough one. If you took the word medical device out, is the type of sales you do, consultative sales, hunter, account management, territory management, could you take that and move it to another product or service? Possibly. But it's also hard sometimes because we have our comfort zone. We're used to certain things. And you know what? If it's a good fit, no reason to move. But sometimes you get to that point and you say, I've been doing it for so long. I want to try something new. I need to stretch. I feel like I've been doing it. So when I left the OR, I worked in the OR for 5 years, and then I sold in the OR for another 18 and a half, close to 19 years. So after 24 years, I said, geez, I need a break from the OR. And it's funny, you step back, and I really enjoyed working in the OR, but I also needed to take a break from that role. It's like a change up, right? Even too much of a good thing, even if you had ice cream, right? You talk to kids, give me ice cream and pizza. After a while, you need to change it up a little bit. So sometimes we all get to that point. So
Steve, thank you for that. I really appreciated that. That's great. That is great feedback. You know, the first thing or the last thing I thought of here was I'm sucked into The Last Dance with Michael Jordan. He got burnt out with basketball and went to baseball. That's the first thing I thought of when you said that. You were an OR guy and just basically had to do something else. I think that's really great insight. Thank you for that, because I think that's important for me right now. It's really great feedback, and I appreciate that. I think you're right. My sales skills, my consultative approach, my solution building can apply anywhere if you train me on the product, right? I don't have to necessarily be pigeonholed. I really, but probably that's great feedback for me to hear right now, you know, in the sense it probably should have come earlier.
Well,
so
but
I just
Derek,
appreciate that.
you're welcome. And it's funny, I tell people all of that training that I got working in the OR and selling and servicing is what allowed me to do what I'm doing today, coaching and training, right?
Right.
Everything I learned, I just apply it here. And people say, well, what do you mean? I said, well, we always had a pre-op, an inter-op, and a post-op plan, right? We always had to be strategic with surgery. We always had to have a plan A, B, and C, and sometimes the D, E, and F, right? So this whole Boy Scout thing, being prepared, we had to do that, whether I was part of the surgical team or working on the other side of the table. So, you know, it's funny when you start taking all of these things and say, what makes you successful in what you do today? It's all of those experiences. It's not one of them. It's all of them working together to make you who you are today. So when people ask you, what's the one thing that makes you successful, or why are you successful? That's an opportunity to take all of your experiences, positive, negative, i.e. learning moments, and weave them into that story. Because you're very unique. And that's what they want, is they want somebody who can bring that insight, wisdom, and experience to the table.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. Anything else before we wrap it up? We have to unfortunately jump off in a few minutes to prepare for the weekend. Woo-hoo. I'm going to be out in the yard.
Yeah, enjoy the log cabin.
Go ahead, Stone.
I just said enjoy the log cabin. This was incredibly helpful. Really appreciate it, y'all. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Well, good luck to you guys. Derek, we are not going to have our call Monday because it's Memorial Day, and darn it, I'm probably going to be in no shape to be talking. But if you do have the interview, good luck, and Stone, good luck to you going forward.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, have a good weekend. Anyone else? Anything before we wrap it up?
Derek, do you want to, we can talk on the phone if you want.
Yes. Do you have LinkedIn? Reach out. I just give you here. What's the best way?
803.
803?
Yeah. 609 6756.
I'll give you a call. I'll give you a call.
All right. Sounds great.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Have a good weekend. We'll catch up with you shortly.
All right. See you
Take
soon.
care. Good luck, everyone.
All right. Thank
All right.
you.
Bye-bye.